Now, I can already predict the comment section on this video and it'll go something like this. First, it was the Panda Effect, then it was the NBA Youngboy Effect, then it was the Popping Rapper Trap, and now the Hopsin Effect? What's next after that? The BlackySpeakz Effect? Actually, yeah, now that I think about it, I'm gonna have to make that happen. Now, the Hopsin Effect though, what exactly is this thing? Well, let's talk about it. Now, Hopsin is of course a rapper who started getting a really big buzz in the underground scene of hip-hop back in 2010 when he dropped Sag My Pants. If you've heard the song, you know the whole theme and purpose of it. Hopsin came out, mocked, dissed, and disrespected the whole rap game all in the span of 3 minutes. Obviously, this was his way of attempting at blowing up, which eventually worked. The song went absolutely viral on the internet, and that was a big W for Hopsin because right before that, he was on a record label that almost ruined his entire career. So Sag My Pants was his way of getting back at his old label and essentially just proving them wrong. But let's talk about how when Hopsin started blowing up because of Sag My Pants, that's when he officially set the tone for the rest of his career. This is a rapper who for the longest time has been labeled as the pessimist of the rap game because that's how he entered the industry. I talked about this in my The Popping Rapper Trap video, but once you've established a certain image / perception of yourself in the rap game, what happens then is it's extremely hard to change that perception people have of you because you are known as, for example, the hard rapper who's gonna beat people up and check them when they act out on you, like the DaBaby example I've used in the past. By most people, DaBaby is seen as the rapper you don't want to mess with because he's not too famous or has too much to lose to even want to put hands on you if you disrespect him. Technically, he does have a lot to lose, but DaBaby doesn't really behave like a guy who has a lot to lose. That's the point I'm trying to make. The good thing about this is that people will think twice about trying you, and the bad thing is you've built an image off of getting your hands dirty, so the only time when you don't do something, you're seen as weak, which might happen to DaBaby. The same thing applies to Hopsin in this case. He came into the rap game dissing anyone and everyone, so now when the average person who necessarily might not be a fan of him, but of course is aware of his presence, that's one of the first things that come to mind. Even though he hasn't really been on the dissing rappers wave for a couple years now, that's still one of the first things people think about when they think about Hopsin. But the quote-unquote effect I'm talking about is, what kind of fans does Hopsin have? He of course alienated himself from the rap game by his approach early on by constantly bashing it, and not so surprising at all, he attracted those exact kind of fans. Let me explain. I'm talking about the kind of fans who say, and you might have heard this yourself, I like Hopsin because he doesn't talk about money, cars, clothes, drugs, or women. I think Hopsin is a real rapper. He's not like an insert rapper's name. He's much better. By the way, I just want to say one thing regarding this. If you listen to a rapper because, you know, for example, they don't rap about that, then you're not really supporting them for what they are, you're supporting them for what they aren't. Food for thought. You know, funny enough, I actually had one of these phases myself when I first got into Hopsin's music back in 2013. At that point, when I found him, I had been listening to hip-hop for over 5 years. Lil Wayne was of course the first rapper I got into. J. Cole and Kendrick were also on rotation for me. Logic was definitely one of my favorite ones already back then, and so forth. But I vividly remember how deep I got into Hopsin's music. I started to kind of adopt his perspective on the rap game because I used to listen to him so much. Everything Hopsin preached, I blindly accepted as the truth because I was a big fan. Actually, you could probably call me a stan because that's how a stan operates. But it's funny looking back on it now because I was one of the contributors to this Hopsin effect that I'm talking about. Suddenly, I started to divide and categorize rappers by which one is real and which one is fake. And I think that's a very bad way to do things because things just aren't that black and white. Hopsin really embodied that black and white mentality. That's why back in 2015 when he dropped his track Crown Me, I remember seeing a whole bunch of Hopsin fans calling him a sellout because he was rapping on a trap instrumental. I even remember Hop himself jokingly addressing this.
Yo man, I just heard my new fucking single, man. I think I'm selling out, man. What the fuck, dude? Like, what the hell is wrong with me? I'm not the old Hop, man. What the fuck? What happened to me, man? Damn.
This is what we call boxing yourself in as a rapper. Isn't it crazy that all it took for people to call him a sellout was for him to rap on a trap instrumental? God damn it, fans can be very fickle. Now, Hopsin has of course evolved and grown from his old self, who constantly was mad and pessimistic about the rap game, but unfortunately a lot of his fans didn't grow with him because the bulk of his fan base flocked around him when he had that angry rapper attitude. And back then, that was when he was building his foundation. And this is actually one really big issue with a lot of fans fans, they don't allow the rapper to grow because they hold them accountable to their old self, thinking they're always gonna stay that way when 9 times out of 10, that's never the case. What's that Albert Einstein quote? Insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result. I think that's what Hopsin realized. Before Crown Me, all of his beats sounded the same. Musically, he never experimented too much, and that also aligned with his very one-sided and negative mentality. But after he broke that pattern, he kind of became a new version of himself. Whether you want to argue for or against his older music being better, that's another conversation. The point is though, just breaking that cycle led to him attracting different kinds of fans, which is what I'm trying to say. There's other rappers who've kind of fell into this Hopsin Effect trap. One of them is NF and another one of them is Logic. I want to say Eminem as well, but M has been around for like 2 decades now, so I can't say that M is following in the footsteps of Hopsin. It's the other way around, right? I think Hopsin is the face of this whole I listen to this rapper because he makes real rap movement. Yes, someone like Eminem of course has a whole bunch of, you know, those kinds of fans, but notice how this kind of separation mostly came from the social media age. Someone being a fan of Eminem just because he raps about real life subjects was never that much of a common thing to hear 10 years ago, but now there's a whole bunch of people who, for example, are Eminem fans strictly for this reason. It was never like this in the beginning though, was it? On the other hand, think about it like this: Hopsin started popping off right when social media became a really essential part of the internet, and that's why I say that he's the face of the whole I listen to this rapper because he makes real rap movement. Let me say this: if Hopsin never dropped Sag My Pants, he might have never been in the position that he's in today. His way of thinking, his attitude towards hip-hop is what made Hopsin Hopsin. The good thing about this is it is of course an effective way to build a fan base, but the bad thing is a lot of those fans might not stick around if you don't want to conduct yourself in this hostile manner towards the rap industry. This is something he of course did. The last thing you want to be known for the rest of your career as is the rapper who's salty and mad at other rappers because they're quote-unquote fake. At the end of the day, any rapper wants a fan base who's down to ride, and if they're gonna be down to ride, you gotta give them a bunch of other reasons that make them listen to you instead of just that one thing. A quick analogy of what I'm trying to say: just imagine if there was a restaurant that sold one thing and one thing only. If this restaurant stops selling that one thing they're known for, what's gonna happen? Well, the customers won't show up at all because they started going to that restaurant for that one thing, and now that one thing ain't on the goddamn menu. I think that's kind of a trap. You know, you box yourself in like Hopsin did in the past. He had a very one-sided mentality towards the rap game, and he was a very specific type of rapper, and then when he wanted to grow and evolve from that, a lot of his fans called him a sellout. You know what I'm saying? At the end of the day, it is kind of a trap, so maybe I should have titled this video the Hopsin Effect Trap. I don't know. What do you think about the Hopsin Effect? Definitely let me know in the comment section below, and let's have a discussion about this.